Oh no.
I went to Command Tab over to my notes, and I almost hit Command Q on Pro Tools instead.
Oh no.
We're good though.
All right, good.
All right. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And today we are continuing our Death Cab for Cutie series with their eighth, depending on how you count it, album Codes and Keys. This album came out May 31st, 2011 on Atlantic Records, once again produced by guitarist Chris Walla. This is an album that is, I would say, not fondly remembered by seemingly everyone in Death Cab for Cutie and many of their fans.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked last week on our Narrow Stairs episode about how neither of us had really spent much, if any, time with this album. Am I remembering that right?
Yep, I knew the song You Are a Tourist, and I guarantee you I listened to it once in 2011, and it was apparently either not for me or did not leave an impression in some other way, shape, or form. So, yeah, little to no history with this record.
Yeah, same. This is the album that comes out in what I would call the fallow period of my Death Cab fandom, where I was like, if you had asked me in 2011 when I'm, what am I, at the end of my freshman year of college, do you like Death Cab for Cutie? I would have said, yeah, I love, the songs I know from Transatlanticism. I love Plans, but like, what have they done since then? I don't know. Not much. Because I didn't really have a relationship with Narrow Stairs. Mm-hmm. And this comes out at a time when I am in the throes of my like Wonder Years pop punk fandom, and this album just was not on my radar. And I think that it's interesting to look back on now. 'Cause, I mean, I don't think I would have been into it at the time. I am mixed at best on it right now. I think it does some interesting stuff and has its moments, but is kind of a not entirely coherent project as a whole.
Yeah, it's doing kind of the reading of all the behind the scenes stuff and like kind of the intention going into this album. I feel like I like the idea of this album a lot more than I like the actual album itself. And like, I think I've warmed to it a little more in like the last, few listens that I've done, but overall, I think I told you this was the first time that it felt kind of like a chore listening to one of the albums in this series. Everything else I've just kind of like gone, yeah, I'd spin that again, no problem. This time I'm like, a few of the songs maybe, but
yeah. So I was thinking about this just in comparison to other bands that we've covered, and the bands that have made it, we've actually done quite a few short discographies, but the bands that have made it to 8 albums and like 10 to 15 years into a career, they all do kind of have a point where they make a really weird one right around this time, or they make one that just feels uninspired. I mean, Wolves by Rise Against, their eighth record, and is a upsettingly bland, uninspired album. The eighth Bright Eyes record is The People's Key, which is similar to this, although I think the highs are much, much higher. A kind of a bit of an odd swing, like a big swing stylistically, which sometimes really works and sometimes really doesn't. The other one, Mitski's Nothing's About to Happen to Me, is her eighth record, which feels like a bit of a different thing to me, just because those first few albums came so quickly and are kind of like her sort of like, not juvenilia, but college work, so I feel like maybe she's not at the eighth record point of her career, or she already did it with The Land Isn't Hospitable. I don't know which one of those fits better.
Sure. I mean, I guess kind of looking at the way that they were talking about the making of this record, like, part of it is that they've been doing, I guess, quote unquote, the thing they've been doing, which is guitar-driven rock for a very long time now, and like did want to switch it up. But like specifically, everybody in the band seems to kind of refer back to like, well, like Narrow Stairs, like we just like, we wanted to do the thing where we, jammed things out in a room, and like, we didn't want to just do that again, and like we'd kind of done everything else we wanted to do with guitar music, so like we wanted to like focus in on like some different stuff this time around. And like Chris and Ben both talk about how like a lot of that is like analog synths, and like this is, I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but like this record was recorded at a lot of different studios in a lot of different places, using Logic. They went again away from tape, which they had returned to for Narrow Stairs. But I'll get into this more in the songs, but like I don't feel like this is that weird, like as weird as they think it is in a lot of ways, and I think that's part of why it doesn't hit for me the way that it like feels like it should on its surface. Like some songs, absolutely. Like we'll get into it when we talk about it, but like the opening track, "Home Is a Fire," like yeah, that is an absolute curveball. But then like there are plenty of other songs on this record that are like pretty guitar driven. Like they're not like hooky by any means, but they are very much like it sounds like the song was written on a guitar and is performed on a guitar and has some synths in it. And then like I don't know, Ben again talks about like kind of refocusing his lyricism on more brevity, which he's said many times in his career thus far. But I don't know. Sorry, I feel like I'm going on a rant, but like this is all to say like it feels like this should be a record that I really love, because it sounds like it's a big swing, but I think that there are fewer big swings on this record than the band seemed to think there were, if that makes any sense.
That totally makes sense. I mean, there's a great quote in one of the like press junket interviews that you can find on YouTube where Nick Harmer says that they approached this record knowing that they were not in danger of ruining what the band was, because they felt like they had established their kind of legacy and their thing that they were doing and good at, and so they could take big swings on this album. I also very much agree with you that the songs that are the least big swings are the ones that work best, and I don't know if that's because those songs were more live band in a room type recordings, or if they are just more comfortable with the style of those songs, or if those are the songs that came from Chris or that came from Ben versus apparently Chris fully wrote the music for quite a few songs on this album, more than he had ever on any previous Death Cab record. I don't know what it is. His production philosophy on this record, like you hit on a bunch of things. I would just pull out a couple other quotes where he talks a lot about wanting to build a harmonic foundation around something other than strumming guitars. And he has this really great line in one of the interviews where he says, "Guitar is an immediate instrument. You get something out of it right when you hit it. How do you take that away and still make a rock song?" And that's an interesting challenge to pose for a band at this time in their career. But I agree with you completely that it just does not land, and I think a lot of it is in the lyrics. Like you said, Ben is trying to write more broadly with like more. What does he say? He says something about like a. He calls this an extended experiment in minimal lyricism with more striking, bold images instead of long sentences, which is just not what I want in songwriting, I don't think.
Right.
And there's all these like personal things going on around this time, which is, I mean, this is where Ben, very famously is in this relationship and gets married to Zooey Deschanel around this time. And this is like a very public relationship. She's a huge celebrity. He's a celebrity by this point. They're, followed by paparazzi, and, fans like try to pick apart their every appearance they have together and all this stuff. And he moves to LA, and he talks about feeling just so isolated from his circle and from his people, and wanting to, because he was suddenly thrust into a even more public life, wanting to hide more of himself or not reveal as much of himself in the songs. And like all of this stuff comes together to, I think, just make songs that are, with few exceptions on this album, pretty bland.
Yeah, to the point that you made about him like kind of not wanting to expose much of himself through the songs. Like he does like also say something along the lines of oh yeah, he says, "One thing that I'm very fond of in a number of these songs is that it feels the details are very specific, the emotional details and touchstones are very specific, but the song doesn't exist within a particular event." Like, yeah, like really trying to abstract away from the more specific like language that he was using on previous records that like kind of made them really, really good. But like, beyond even Ben, like everybody in the band had gone through some kind of major life change since Narrow Stairs came out. Nick also got married. Jason had a kid, and Chris moved from Portland to Seattle, which seems like the least huge of those. But he did move.
And he's producing records like for other bands around this time. His career is going in a different direction than just guitarist and self producer in Death Cab for Cutie.
Right, yeah. The other kind of big thing that they talk about a bunch in these interviews is how like and, we've kind of talked in the past about records being reactions to their predecessors, specifically with this band and like Mitski and a couple of other bands that we've covered. But they keep talking about how like dark Narrow Stairs was and how they didn't want to do that specifically again.
Right.
And like that's fine, I get that, but like I do feel like it's overcompensated for a little bit on some of these songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like I think we both just really responded to the live nature and the darkness to a degree on Narrow Stairs, and
For
so
sure.
yeah, it does feel like a bit of whiplash. The other thing though is I think the negative reaction to this album, or the negative like memory of this album, feels very current. From what I could
Yes.
tell, contemporaneously, it feels like they had a lot of fun making this record. They got to do
Yeah.
it in a way that they liked, just doing like kind of like I said, 2 weeks at a time, and then a few weeks off or a month off, and go to a different studio, do 2 weeks there. They got to kind of make it in a way that was relaxed, that fit their lives and their life changes, and they got to extended it out over basically an entire year. I think 10 months they said of making this record. And so they seem to have good memories. Even they even kind of like laugh about Chris, like the first week that they were recording, got some kind of horrible ear injury or infection or something, where he like walked out of the control room and his ear was just bleeding, and he says he went to some doctor, like a kind of like a rock doc ENT, who was like,
Yeah.
man, like, whatever, I don't know what you did, it looks like you stabbed your ear with something, like it's fucked up in there. And he had to have like a
Jesus.
spinal tap and some stuff to heal. And so I don't know if that probably informed some of the process too. And
Probably,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in
Yeah.
this album, but like I said, they seem very like happy with it in the moment, and then I think it's just probably soured over time, in part because of the response to it, and in part because of the Ben's marriage ends right after this record comes out, or 6 months
Literally
after this record comes
after.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it almost is like they're all the press and the interviews and the touring around this album happen at a very specific moment in time where they can feel good about it, and then in retrospect it loses all of its luster because of everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a bummer. Like it would be one thing if this was like the like kind of deep cut gem that the band really likes, but like it just seems like it is completely taken a 180 in their eyes. Like mostly Ben's, but I think maybe a little bit the other members of the band too.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also interesting that like we're coming to it around this time, and I feel like I don't think my opinion on it was necessarily it was, I guess, informed because I read Ben's noisy record ranking thing where this was last, but like I feel like I don't think I'm liking this record a ton more if I hear it then, or if I hear it without knowing that the band isn't happy with it now or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Two other things I think are interesting about this album, before we get into the songs. Ben talks about he switched guitar brands. He started playing G&L guitars, which are just Telecasters or whatever, because that's the company that Leo Fender started after he got ousted from Fender.
Yep.
But they had thicker necks, and he said that it negatively affected how he played and like hurt his relationship with guitar, so that most of this record was written on piano.
Yeah, right.
Which sort of dovetails with Chris's like I want to make a non-guitar record idea. But again, my favorite Death Cab stuff is pretty guitar heavy, and so that plays into my feelings on the album as well.
This is what we get for letting Chris listen to Brian Eno and LCD Sound System.
Yeah.
God.
But and then the other thing, this is the first Death Cab record that Chris has not mixed almost entirely. He has mixing credits on a couple songs, but this album was mixed by Alan Moulder, who is not a person that I would have pegged as a Death Cab guy. His credits range from like a lot of shoegaze. I think he worked on like My Bloody Valentine records to Foo Fighters to, I think his main thing that he's known for is he mixed like almost all the Nine Inch Nails records, or at least the canonical ones.
Yep.
And Chris says like he's a fan, he gets us, whatever. I don't think that this mix is, I don't think it hurts the album, but I also just I imagine that it's just Chris is very busy with producing around this time and isn't able to mix the whole record himself, or just really wants a different perspective on it. But I don't know. Do you feel any difference in the mix or how the record feels?
I do feel like some of the magic is gone. Like
it's less adventurous, I guess, is maybe how I would put it.
That's the thing, is like I feel like there's a world where Chris has more time to devote to this album and he is able to do his normal like kind of pseudo deconstructive thing on it. You know, given that he was listening to things like LCD and Brian Eno, like that feels like it would have really bolstered that kind of vision, and like the vision that the band kind of like puts forward about the record in general. Like it could have been way weirder, and maybe that was a way more interesting record. And like some of the mixing decisions on this record are a little baffling to me, specifically with the way that some of the vocals are mixed. But that's I have one specific example. It might not be that pervasive, but there are times where I like noticed like, oh, I don't think this is a choice that Chris would have made, and that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what that moment is, and we'll get to it, I'm sure, because I would say more that this is the first time I haven't made any mix-related notes as I'm running through a Death Cab record where I'm just like, oh, that's a really cool thing. That's a weird thing. That's a thing that I've not heard a band do. I've only heard the Beatles do or whatever.
Right.
This is more just like, oh, yeah, this is like a sturdy, big-sounding rock mix, and which, again, is not a bad thing if you're making that kind of record. I don't know that they were making that kind of record.
No, I don't think they were. Also, just while we're talking about Alan Moulder, I want to say into the microphone the thing that I said to you earlier. Very funny to me that out of 3 Alan Moulder mixed records that we have talked about on this podcast, 0 of them appear on his Wikipedia page.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah, it is for those playing along at home. It's this one, Ricochet by Rise Against, and Perfect Saviors by The Armed. Apparently not notable enough for Wikipedia.
I kind of get not wanting to put that Ricochet mix on your Wikipedia page, but you know, the Armed record sounds good.
Yep, yeah, I love the way Perfect Saviors sounds.
Yeah, but yeah, we should get into the songs unless you have anything else.
Nah, let's do it.
So this album starts with "Home Is a Fire," which is really is like the first 5 seconds of this record I think are extraordinarily exciting because it starts off with this like frantic ride cymbal loop that sounds like nothing Death Cab has done before. And you can't tell if it's gonna be like sort of trip hop or like you don't know what direction it's gonna go. And there's this cool contrast between what the bass and drums are doing, which I assume is kind of like a looped thing, a tape loop thing or something that they're playing with, and then these very ethereal and atmospheric guitars that is, like you said, it is a bit of a curveball, and it is, I'm like, it's one of those things that's like, okay, I'm half a song into this record. Is this the secret masterpiece?
Yeah, that's the thing is like coming into this, I was like, this is kind of weird in the way that like I want a like big swing to be. Some of the ways that the vibe on this song shifts are a little like jarring, but like not in a bad way. Just in a like, oh, it's interesting that they made that choice because like we get from the verse to the chorus, and that like it just suddenly becomes like more ethereal, more like not down tempo, but like we get away from that frenetic energy, and then like a couple lines later it just comes right back, and that's like an interesting choice, and I kind of like it.
And it's structurally what the song is. Like, because the whole song is about isolation, and this, the first verse is all about this, like, there's this noise outside, cars on the freeway, you're trying to make a clean break from it. And then you get that clean break, and you're in your house, you're in your familiar place. But then even that place is not stable and doesn't change and does change. And like, ultimately it's like a song about, even as isolated you are, there's really nowhere to go to find solace from everything that's going on out there in the world. And like, I think they depict that well musically.
They definitely do. Yeah. The song puts you ill at ease in its sonics alone.
It does a much better job musically with that than it does lyrically, because I think I'm just like, oh, but the specificity of his songwriting is kind of gone. Like, I get what the song is about, but there's no, or at least very little, I don't know, to latch on to lyrically in terms of like, oh, that is a unique idea or something.
Yeah, like my favorite set of lines from the song is in that the second verse. The bricks make me nervous, they're only so strong, which like, again, like maybe not the level of specificity that I want, but like the bricks makes me nervous has this sense of menace that kind of matches some stuff that's happening in the guitars, because there's like some foreboding guitar stuff going on like in certain sections of this song, but like everything else is like kind of like really non-specific or not non-specific imagery, but like
it's broad.
Yeah, it's broad. It's very, very broad. Like we're literally talking like earth level shit. Like plates they will shift. Like we're talking about like literal tectonic movement in this song. Like we are as zoomed out as we can get before we get to the house. Which like the kind of zooming in on the home thing is the most interesting part of the song lyrically.
Yeah, I guess here's the way that I would put it. I feel like this is not a song that only Ben Gibbard could write. And
Yes.
I think that's
Yes.
kind of a problem with a number of songs in this album. Not all of them, but it's a thing that I keep thinking about as we're going through the songs.
I think that is very valid.
Yeah. Next up is Codes and Keys. These first two songs, I guess I should note, are the ones that Chris Walla mixed. I feel like they are the ones that maybe do have kind of the most interesting production decisions.
Yes.
This is the one that first brings in the Magic Magic Orchestra, who contributed some string parts to this album, and then the band would later go on an orchestral tour with later in the year in 2012. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but that is like another element that they're bringing into this record to kind of add textures that aren't guitars, and I think it completely and totally works. It's kind of the best part of this song.
Oh yeah, the strings are incredible on this song. I absolutely love them. To the point where when we get to the remixes later, I am so glad that I forget who remixed this offhand, but they kept those strings like more or less intact, because I'm like that's the signature sound of this song.
Is this the most like Death Cab song on this album?
I would say so, with the possible exception of You Are a Tourist.
Yeah. I just like they're doing like this has a very like non-traditional structure, no repeated parts lyrically. It builds into this long outro with just one repeated line. Like this is a structure they've used a lot, and it works.
Yeah, it really does. And Ben talks about how this is like one of the songs that he's like maybe the most proud of on the record, which makes sense given that context.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this song it's kind of dealing with a similar theme, this idea of like an interior and exterior of a house metaphor. The codes and you're fearful of what's outside your door. The codes and keys, they can't protect you from the pangs of jealousy. Like that feels more like a Ben Gibbard lyric.
Yeah. And like Ben kind of talks in interviews about how this concept of codes and keys, like he thinks about it so many different ways that yeah, that's why he arrived at that metaphor for like this feeling that he's trying to convey. Is because like we are talking about like the keypad lock on your door to get into your house. We are also talking about the ways in which we speak to each other. We are talking about the ways in which we misinterpret the things that other people say, and vice versa. Like all that stuff is contained in that one little bit of language, and like that's what Ben Gibbard is really, really good at.
Yeah. The problem is that theme does not continue really much past these first two songs.
No, it does not.
Because yeah, after this you get to Some Boys, a song that I quite like, the sort of like pulsing sub bass synth thing with these huge drum fills. This is kind of a different sound for them in a way that I think is pretty cool. This is one that feels like, oh, we figured out how to make a rock song without just like traditional rock elements.
Yeah, like they've got the grime that like comes with like a distorted guitar, but they're getting it out of synths. Like there's some heavy bass synths, there's some really like nasty sounding other synths going on. There's breathing sounds at the beginning of the song, which I don't like.
You talk about LCD Sound System as an influence, like you hear it a lot here.
For sure, yeah.
And then, I mean, thematically, just getting into like this is a critique of hyper ambitious men who don't care who they hurt on the way to the top. This could be about the music industry, could be about the tech industry, could be about Wall Street, whatever it is, and just kind of like lamenting that these guys never are able to have this kind of like connection, and then the people that they mistreat or hurt along the way at the same time. Like it's a very sad song delivered in a pretty almost like anthemic way.
Yeah, like this. I feel like this song like has a good like kind of core like idea that is very, very clear, which I know is what Ben was going for. Some of the lines are like a little bit of a miss for me, like the Some Boys are sleeping alone because there's no one keeping them warm through the evening. Like that's not a because thing. Like that the causal arrow is in one direction that you're not implying here.
Right.
But like, there's some clever lyric play here. Like I do like how the outro is like an amalgamation of the first two verses. Yeah, overall, like lyrically this doesn't quite hit the way I want it to. Even though like I do, obviously there are plenty of men out there who deserve to be admonished for being like this. But it just doesn't quite hit for me, minus the fact that like, yeah, they did really land on how to do a rock song without, using guitars.
Do you think this lands for you better if it feels like it's about a specific person instead of broadly about a type of person?
Maybe a little bit, but like, I don't know. I don't think that's really what the song's. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I do. I think that allows the song to take a little bit more of a journey rather than feeling like a description,
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that because, like I said, I like the song. I like a lot of the lyrics. It's actually lyrically one of the better songs on the album.
For sure,
But
yeah. I don't want to say it's bad, just that it doesn't quite hit for me the way that I would want a song that's about this to do.
Right, yeah, I'm kind of there too. After that is Doors Unlocked and Open, which it has kind of a longer instrumental intro, a bit more of a guitar forward song. It feels like the guitars are doing more of like a Cure or a new wave type thing, which is like when they use guitars on this album, that's kind of how they do it. And I feel like this is maybe the one sort of like sister song to Home is a Fire and Codes and Keys on here thematically, because I think it's specifically about escaping the isolation and the closing off of the codes and the locks and everything. And this is about like, what if your door could just be open and you could, live in slow motion and like appreciate everything and not have to be so closed off.
Yeah. This is definitely an ideation song about not being wherever you are in Codes and Keys, for sure. You might be in LA, say, in Codes and Keys, who could say? Yeah, I feel like you're totally spot on in that, like, this is directly thematically tied to that, in that it is like describing the opposite situation of this like kind of idyllic, like, not small town life, but like life where you like either don't have neighbors or trust your neighbors and can just like, you can leave your door unlocked and open and it's fine.
Yeah.
You get that nice sea breeze coming in.
I like the effect on Ben's voice. It's kind of throughout the song, but especially in the second verse, where it feels like he's just singing into a box fan or something. Like, I don't know what they did to get that sound, but it's cool. I wish that the verses weren't entirely like lyrically inert to me. I think that's a big problem with the song.
Yeah, I wrote that like this seems deliberately abstract, like insofar that like these feel like we're trying to like convey concepts in a few words that just aren't like concrete in a way that Ben usually does. Like you said, it in that first verse, coldest comfort, safety glass, seasons turning, dying grass. Like, sure, yeah, I can see that, like, especially seasons turning, dying grass. But
yeah,
like,
I mean, classic Ben Gibbard, seasons changing, you're getting older, getting sadder lyric.
Right, exactly, yeah. But like, it doesn't do much for me. Like, it doesn't have impact, I guess, is like what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we're harping on these, the way that these songs kind of, like I said, just don't have impact, but like they don't, and that's the problem with this album.
Yeah, right, exactly. And like, I don't know if that is just like a songwriting approach thing. Like, is this like the ultimate like extreme other end of Ben Gibbard trying to like pare down how much he's writing? Like, is it like, I guess the question is this a result of the experiment, if you will, or is this just like the place Ben's in life, or some other third thing? I don't know.
I think Ben,
or all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a little bit of all of them, but like I think Ben has, the way that he's reflected on this album allows me to say this without feeling like I'm psychoanalyzing him, from a distance. But like, I think he's just totally right that he closed himself off from a lot of things and was writing from a place of isolation and from a place of, not being connected to his family, to his friends, whatever it was. And it just comes through in the songs.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree.
That kind of is the theme of You Are a Tourist, which was the first single, a pretty successful single for them. In fact, it topped the alternative charts, went gold eventually. This is the one that they'll probably play from this album today, on tour still. Yep. But this song is, he talks about this, calls it like the verse is affirmational, but the song still has like a lot of weight to it. But it builds to this bridge that is kind of very specifically about the thing we were just talking about. You feel like a tourist in the city you were born, then it's time to go and define your destination. Like, it feels like feels like it should almost be the end of the arc of the album.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like that bridge is like, speaking about impactful things. This bridge is very impactful.
Yeah.
This is a thing that many people have felt. And like, I think this is the good version of the like kind of talking about this broad idea that like has specific emotional resonance, like Ben wanted to go for on all of these other songs, like hitting a specific emotional note. Because like, yeah, like this is a thing that people have felt. It doesn't have to be, Bellingham, Washington. It can be, Crystal Lake, Illinois, or whatever.
Yeah. What do you think of this intro and like loop thing that goes in between the parts of the songs? This fire grows higher with all the echo and stuff on it.
It's catchy as hell,
Yeah,
but I don't know if it serves much of a purpose outside of that.
I mean, I feel like it pulls you into the song and gives you something to like groove to if you're not the kind of person who catches a guitar riff, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, the guitars in this song are quite good.
So good.
Just the kind of single note lines, but that melody is awesome.
Yeah.
And this is the one. I mean, maybe it's because there's not that much guitar generally, but this one really stands out because it feels like a guitar song, even though it's not a rock song. Like I feel like this is where they nailed the thing that Chris Walla is trying to do.
I definitely agree with you on that. Also, this one has one of the better Nick bass lines on it, where he gets to like really shine. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean he's still the unsung hero of this album. There's a lot of good bass lines on it.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that like in a guitar-driven song, it sticks out a lot more. I think I have like one other place where I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is Nick time, baby.
Yeah. The music video for the song is sort of significant because it was filmed all in one take, streamed live. It's not in like one shot because they're cutting between different cameras and setups and stuff, but they did it. They performed it live. They hired a guy who'd worked with OK Go, which is unsurprising.
Yeah, truly unsurprising.
Yeah.
Tim Nakashi, I think is his name.
Tim Nakashi.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is such a relic of this era, where kind of the last era where anyone would spend this much money on a music video. But it's a pretty cool video.
It is a really cool video. Like, even I did not know going in on my first watch of it that it was like all shot in one go. And also streamed live, because like they talk about this a lot when they're talking about this music video. Like, yeah, like people have done like the one or two take like performance music videos, but this is the first time that we're aware of where like the canonical performance was shown to people in real time.
Yeah.
And that is really, really cool, because like this is an ambitious music video, even divorced from that context.
Right.
There's so much going on.
Choreography and, people who look like mannequins or maybe actual mannequins that are moving and burlesque dancers. And the lighting is crazy. It's cool.
Yeah. The little like heart beating in all of their suits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
the lights.
Stuff.
Yeah. It really, yeah, like you said, it works even if you don't know that it was like how it was made.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up is Unobstructed Views, which there's like a pretty cool seamless transition into this like synth and piano thing at the beginning of this one, which then is just like this very long, spacey intro. They said this was another like a short one that grew when they went into the studio. I don't know. What do you think of this song?
I have mixed feelings about this song.
Yeah, Ben loves it. He says it's one of their best songs.
I can kind of see why he feels that way. I guess kind of breaking it down like part by part. The intro, I like the way it builds. I don't feel the same way I feel about it. Say, I Will Possess Your Heart, another famously long intro song.
Yeah.
I wrote down that like the intro to this song almost feels like an interlude. The operative difference being that like the song just continues in that fashion once we hit the actual song. Like there's not a ton of progression beyond that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the build happens and then like the song is the song from there. The song itself, like the lyrics themselves are very brief, but they're like conveying this like very singular idea of like a thing that we've talked about specifically in the Mitski series. This like love is the most important thing that there is. There's kind of nothing else.
And also, there's no God.
And also, there's no God. I need you to know that when we die, nothing happens. If that didn't get to your head with "I will follow you into the dark," you're gonna learn it now. Yeah, that is the other very prominent theme of this song. But that is also harped on in another song later on.
Yeah.
But I do like that Ben just squares straight up against the Bible in this song. There's no verse, no monument of words, which is a wild, wild set of lines.
Yeah, it's kind of like this song is trying to be two different things. It's trying to be this beautiful love song, and it's also trying to be this sort of polemic, like deconstruction of a religious belief, I guess. And like it's hard for the song to be both of those things. I don't know that the two ideas gel together really. I mean, I see how he's trying to say that none of this stuff matters except for our pure perfect love. It feels a little gooey and a little stilted at the same time.
It kind of does. I do, to that point, think that he is trying to kind of glue those ideas together in the bridge specifically. This like kind of like circle of life water cycle, like Gaia theory type thing that's happening in the bridge, where he's like describing like more or less the cycle of souls to create new love. And it like I totally like 100% buy that like Ben is very into that idea, and that's like kind of probably what inspired this song. This is the place where I'm like, this mixing decision, like I absolutely fucking hate.
Wait,
The way that the vocals are on the phrase "new love," that sounds like a bad version of like late 90s new age vocals. Like it is like it, and like kind of given like that, like the way that I'm reading that bridge is like we are like getting at this like kind of cycle of souls. Like I don't actually know how to like fully describe Gaia theory, but it's like kind of, it's the thing that inspired the live stream in Final Fantasy VII. If you know what that is, listener.
I don't, but that's okay.
I think Cycle of Souls is kind of like the easiest like brief explanation of that. Like just that, like, certain things about humanity are in a never-ending cycle of, death and rebirth, not unlike reincarnation. But like, given that is like kind of the approach that we're taking in this bridge, ending on something that sounds like so cheesy, like just does not work for me at all. Even if the rest of the song, even if I had no gripes about the rest of the song, that would still not hit very good.
I there is one thing that I super duper love about this song. There's a synth line kind of later near the back half of the song that feels like it was just lifted straight from like a late 80s or early 90s Rush album. It doesn't really fit in this song or any Death Cab song, but my ears poke up every time I hear it. So I'm like, ooh, that sounds like Alex Lifeson or something.
Yeah, no, I will totally give you that.
Then after that we get to Monday Morning, which is kind of a pretty upbeat song by this album standards. One of those little more like, feels like a little more rock forward songs. Chris Walla is doing crazy stuff with the guitars in this one. I generally like everything that's going on musically here. I have some questions about the lyrics, but what do you think about the song?
I think I am pretty aligned with you in that, like, I think that there's some cool musical stuff going on here. It sounds like there are synths revving up on this song. Like, we're really going for it. There's some lyrical stuff that I do like. Some, like, mixed stuff that I'm like, I'm not sure why this decision was made, but I don't hate it. Like, namely, like, the weird, like, kind of high-pass filter happening on, like, some of the words and not on others. Like, it creates contrast. It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
But one thing I love about this song is the bass tone and how gnarly it is. It's so good.
It's sick. At the end, it's so fuzzed out. It's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. What are you thinking lyrically with this song though? I would love to know your questions.
Okay, so the thing that I think the song does really well lyrically is this chorus that just repeats a couple times, but the idea that it's talking about sort of aging with someone and looking back from old age at your youth and appreciating like what it took to get there it's a very different perspective on the idea of aging with someone than Brothers on a Hotel Bed, which was this very like sort of negative kind of like depressed look at, when you realize that you've grown old with someone and don't really like them anymore, or don't like the person they
Right.
grew into. And this is and this is more looking forward to the future, obviously, from the perspective the place he's at in his life right now. But I liked that. I think this is a very sweet chorus. The verses, I feel like, are describing this very, this trendy aesthetic at the time of like, she only likes old things and modern music and ain't to her taste, that sort of thing. Like, and I'm like, I'm listening to the song, I'm like, these lyrics feel like parody. But at the same time, he did marry like the definitional manic pixie dream girl, like literally. And so maybe he like kind of comes by it honestly. I don't know. But I bump against the verses and really like the choruses is basically what I'm getting at.
I think I am 100% with you on both of those things. Yeah, like in retrospect specifically, like this feels like so this feels so dated to 2011, like a time where we were like, maybe not 2011, but like the mid 2000s to the like early 2010s, like where we were all having this moment of like watching the New Girl and like
500 Days of Summer.
Like
and yeah, it's like, again, it's all the stuff that Zooey Deschanel was in. And again, this is not to slight her. Like, I think, this is the way that characters she played were written. There's so much you can read about the Manic Pixie Dream Girl phenomenon and everything. Like, it's all there. It's just funny to me that when I realized, I was like, oh, wait, he's writing this about the person who this entire like aesthetic is based on.
Exactly, yeah. Like it again, not her fault that she got typecast like that, but it did happen, and we have to live with that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I actually think this is like my second or third favorite song on the album. I like it quite a lot. Just like I said, with the exception of those verses.
Yeah, and I like the point that you made. It was an observation I also made, that this like kind of change in Ben's observations on aging, like just in general, like even outside of the concept of growing old with someone, like it is, as somebody who is older, or maybe older than Ben was when he made this record, it's nice to see us moving away from we're gonna grow old and die someday and that really fucking sucks, doesn't it? Like just kind of gently moving towards a maybe it's cool to still be alive. Just kind of in general, and maybe all of our experiences thus far have made us the people we are today.
Yeah. Next up is Portable Television. This song, again, I'm gonna say, like, I love parts of this song and I'm really frustrated by other parts of this song. I don't like that the chorus is just O's. I wish there were lyrics there, because the lyrics that are in this song are back to kind of an older Death Cab style, are pretty specific and pretty vivid and full of ideas that I think are really cool and I want to explore.
Yeah, it feels like we are telling a story here, and we have that story celebrated by O's, and that's like, it feels like there's room for more story in this song where it just doesn't happen, or let's talk about the theme of this song. It feels like a big miss to just not write lyrics for half of the goddamn song.
Yeah. I have to ask, is this Death Cab Stomp Clap?
I literally wrote, did Death Cab accidentally invent Stomp Clap Hey in this song?
They didn't invent it because this is 2 years after the Mumford & Sons record. But like, there are a couple places on this record, and even more in the demos for this album that have been released, that I was just like, they almost made an indie folk record, or I mean, a couple songs are kind of indie folk inspired, and it's not like a bad look on them. I think, I especially this song, it's pretty bouncy and fun. That like the tambourine in there is cool, the bass is cool. This is one where I get a little bit of Beatles feeling in the production near the end. Like, there's a lot that I really quite like about the song. It feels very adventurous.
It does, yeah. The one other thing I wrote down about the chorus is that the drums do almost save the choruses, because those are the most interesting thing happening.
And maybe that's the idea, to like, let's get the vocals out of the way for a minute so you can focus on the music. I can see that being, so here, let's try something we haven't tried yet on this record.
Yeah, but I feel like you can accomplish that different ways. I agree. Aren't this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's lines. I mean, even there's a line in here about the generator's running, but there's nothing on the air. The static is a comfort. We huddle around and stare. This, which does thematically reach back to this idea of you could actually get far enough away from the buzz of the world that there's not your TV isn't even picking up anything on the airwaves.
Yeah. And like even the line that immediately precedes that is the take us away from the burden of reflection that we've carried today. Like that's so good.
Yeah, you can live in the moment. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am literally seeing these people crowding around this tiny television. And it's delightful.
Yeah, it's good. A bright spot near the end of this record.
Definitely, yeah.
Next up is Underneath the Sycamore. This song, I feel like is, kind of the opposite in terms of tone and feeling.
Yes.
The song that starts off with lyrics about a car crash. Two people who are broken in our own ways is I think how it phrases it at one point. Kind of like finding some kind of solace in each other. I feel like you could read this Underneath the Sycamore, like, we are the same, we're both saved underneath the sycamore line about death. I don't know that I read it quite that way, but what do you think?
Yeah, I'm having a tough time like settling on an interpretation. Like I definitely see the death thing just because of the way that the song starts. But it could just be about like kind of having a big moment in your life that makes you realize, maybe I need to turn things around. Which in many ways is a death into itself. But have you read this book, The Willow Tree, that Ben says that the song is loosely based on?
No, who is that by?
Hubert Selby Jr.
Not a name that I know.
An author I do not know either, but he mentioned in one of the interviews that like this is like he's talked about this before, this kind of idea of like he's writing a song that's like kind of inspired by a work, but then like he starts interpolating like his own like thoughts and experiences into it, and it becomes this like amalgamation of the two things. But I guess like that's kind of where the germ of this song came from. So if anybody out there is familiar with this work, let us know if that's accurate.
Yeah. This is the song where I'm just like, Nick Harmer, not even unsung hero, just true hero of this band.
Truly. Oh my God.
It really, the chorus is just a repeated line over and over again. The bridge is instrumental, but the way that the bass elevates the bridge is just like, it's wonderful.
Nick, for the love of God, please give yourself more credit for being the real hero of this band. Maybe he does nowadays, but he definitely wasn't at this point still.
There's a great one of those junket interviews where there apparently like multiple interviewers in the same day made a joke about Nick being like the lazy one who doesn't do anything in the band, and then the rest of the band keeps like ragging on him for it. It's quite funny.
Oh God, of course. And he's probably a very good sport about it.
Yeah, he seems like a good sport about everything.
He really does.
But there's a music video for this. You check out this like animated kind of hybrid 2D 3D noir thing that they did.
Yeah, I called it a paper doll noir.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't like the way it ends. Well, I don't like the immediate thing that happens right before the end. The end where it like clearly like loops is very cool.
Yeah.
But overall, like, yeah, it's a really striking video. This PI hunting down this woman who I guess is cheating on her husband or something. I don't really know 100% what the implication is here. It sure seems like that near the end, where she's in an alley kissing this other dude, who he's also tracking down, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I think I do like that. They kind of talk about how they try to be self-referential from time to time on this record, and I like that manifests in this video as like a literal like something about grapevine fires on the cover of the newspaper that a person's reading.
It's on the marquee of the like movie theater too.
Oh yeah, it is on the marquee of the movie theater too. Yeah, exactly. I think that's cool. I think it's a very neat music video. It's a little different from anything they've done thus far, and I like that a lot.
Yeah. After that is St. Peter's Cathedral, a song that it just starts off with this really like strikingly raw performance of just Ben with the Rhodes, and there's like no effects on his voice. It just feels like him in the room. And it's just such a nice contrast to everything that has happened on this album so far with all the effects and everything on his voice. Like, it really, really draws you in, I think, to this song that is very much a I don't want to say critique, but a meditation on death and on religious belief and the afterlife, and settles on this, this kind of long building outro where he's just saying like there's nothing past this.
Yeah, this is the other big one on the welp. Sorry, but when you die, that's it.
Yeah.
Which, again, like not an unfamiliar subject for Ben, but strikingly happens twice on this album. Yeah, I really love the way that that the road sounds on this song, because it's like ever so slightly bit crushed, like not in a distracting way, but like there's just like some degradation of the actual sound, like just after like the attack on the actual keys, and I think that's a really like nice light touch in this otherwise like mostly like clean sounding song.
Yeah, this is one that you could have told me while I'm mixed and I would have believed you. Like, this feels, a lot of the production, especially when all the acoustic guitar layers come in and the synths and the drum loops, like this feels, I mean, I wonder if this was one of the ones that he sort of originated and built basically himself musically, because this just feels like a lot of the stuff that he was doing on Plans, maybe taken to, if not another level, at least in a slightly different direction.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't know, anything else about this song? I feel like it is, I don't know if it's like is it too down of a note at this point in this album, or am I just like, I don't know, it doesn't really matter which notes they're on because the album is kind of all over the place with with its themes and its emotions?
That's a great question, because like with this song specifically, I noted, and I feel weird saying this in retrospect, but I'm like, why does it feel like the phrase "there's nothing past this" doesn't have the same gravitas as like "who's gonna watch you die" or even "I need you so much closer"?
Because it doesn't.
Because it doesn't. Like, which is weird, because it's like this really like heavy concept, but it just doesn't work in this context like the same way that it has in the like. It feels like they're pulling out an old Death Cab trick, and it's just not working in this context. And that's a real bummer, because I do like the way the intensity builds towards the end of the song. I just don't feel like "there's nothing past this" was the thing to latch on to.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I don't think I have anything else to add to that.
Cool. Well, then we'll get on to the last song.
Yeah, the closing track is "Stay Young, Go Dancing." This is the true Death Cab Stomp Clap song. Once again, I kind of wished more of the record sounded like this, because I think it's a good sound. It's, very acoustic guitar driven and bouncy, and I mean, this is the, "Through Autumn's Advancing, we'll stay young, go dancing." Like this, it is such a broad idea, and it's such a relatable idea, and it's an appealing idea, and this is like the song where I think Ben's sort of thesis or his stated idea of how he wanted to write the record comes through best.
How do you mean?
Just the idea of like, I'm gonna write in these broad images and have them. It doesn't necessarily feel like the most personal or specific song, but it is. He sells it just enough that I feel all the emotions in it, and it lands in a way that a lot of the other songs on this record don't. I don't know if I'm describing that well at all.
No, I think I get what you're getting at. It does not land for me.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think this song is very good. And like I don't know. It's like, I think starting off with "Life is Sweet in the Belly of the Beast," an image that Ben has used before to talk about Los Angeles, California, on
that's true.
Famously unloved song by us,
Yeah.
"Why You'd Want to Live Here." Sorry, Blake. But it almost feels too saccharine. Like I feel like looking back at a song like this, when you get served divorce papers 2 months after you release this song, I feel like this is the one that hits the hardest. But like, again, kind of to your point, I do like kind of the core idea of this song. This like this "Through Autumn's Advancing, we'll stay young, go dancing." Like, again, a familiar theme for Ben. But again, like kind of moving away from this like very not nihilistic, but just pessimistic view of aging and aging with someone specifically. I do love that turn for him. Even if it is just kind of like, I the kind of open question I had at the beginning of this song is like, does this representative move away from the fear of aging, or is it just a different version of it where like you are using retreat to youthful things to feel young again, but like, does it really matter? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I'm more on the side of this being a pretty positive, earnest interpretation of the idea of aging, and like trying to appreciate the person you're with and the time that you have. Is I think it's just kind of what I get from it.
Definitely, yeah. I think that is 100% the intention here.
Yeah, and it's depicted like quite literally in the music video, which is
very much so.
Ben just playing on like a rustic porch in like Mumford & Sons cosplay, but
right, yeah.
the sort of interstitial parts of it are just these depictions of this couple dancing at all these these moments of their lives, but it's shown in reverse. So they start off old and then they get younger and younger to the point where they're kids, and then it kind of flashes back through the years again at the end. I think it's an effective, if like obvious, music video.
It is the most 1-to-1 music video maybe that Death Cab has done thus far.
Well, the Cath video is literally the story of the song.
Yeah, you're right. The Cath video is, so it's on par with the Cath video. We'll go with that.
So I don't know. I guess this one just works better. I literally am on my notes, I'm just like, this is one of their most effective closing tracks for me.
I mean, I'll give you that. Like it is definitely a like it feels like it is summing up a theme that like we tried to get at earlier in this album. Again, like you said, this album's kind of all over the place. So like, how do you close an album like this? And like, this is probably the best way to do it, because like, you're not going to close with St. Peter's Cathedral. That would be intensely horrible.
I mean, you could.
I guess you could, but I wouldn't feel good about it.
No, I think I like this song enough that it like raises the album a point on the scale for me, like just because it's the final track and it leaves me on a happy note.
I do think that is a much needed vibe change for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I agree that it is a scattershot. It is it's just kind of an oddball record that just I wish it landed better than it did.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I don't know, and it's interesting because like this is one of those eras where we don't really have a lot of supplemental, like other not supplemental, even just there's no extra material aside from demos.
There are no non-album tracks from this record. There are demos and there are remixes, and that's it. Before we do those, this did get nominated for a Grammy though. It got nominated for Best Alternative Music Album. Did you look up what won that year, or should I make you guess again?
I unfortunately did look it up.
Bon Iver.
Honestly, yeah, that was the right choice.
It was the right choice.
I remember when Bon Iver came out, I told my friend Elliot that I maybe liked it a little more than Forever, and he was like, you can't say something like that to me, because he absolutely loved Forever. And in retrospect, I don't think I like that album more than Forever now. But I'm also a 22 a million boy, so maybe my opinion is invalid in general.
Yeah, we got to do the Bon Iver series. I need to spend more time with the self-titled specifically.
Yeah, same, honestly. It's been a while since I last listened to it, but I do have quite a lot of love for that album, despite that.
So across the various deluxe editions, 7 inches, whatever, there's a few demos. There's demos of Portable Television, Some Boys, Unobstructed Views, and is that it? I think that might be it.
I think that is it, yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on any of these? Anything you loved or feel like you wish they would have pursued the path of the demo a little bit more?
I mean, Portable Television sounds pretty much like it was already where it ended up. So like no real notes on that one.
I just think it sounds like you can play these songs with chords recording, because it's like on the 4 track.
Basically, yeah.
It's cool.
It is cool. Like, yeah, I like it. And like it captures the energy of the final song, but like just is a little more lo-fi and loose.
Yeah. Also, it's like 2 drum kits on it, which is a cool effect that is not carried over to the actual the final recording.
Yeah, that I do kind of wish that they had brought over. That would have been neat. Yeah, the Some Boys demo is fine. I like that in the final version they changed but they get what they want to they won't get what they want. Makes the song a little less pessimistic.
Yeah.
But
the Some Boys demo was another moment where I was like, oh, this could have been a whole stomp clap record. Like, it's got that pounding kick drum, it's got the trumpet and the trombone. I like this version of the song a lot.
Yeah, I think it's neat. Minus that last line. The horns sound very synthetic, but I kind of love it.
Yeah.
Because they are. Nobody in this band plays trumpet, as far as I know. But I mean, yeah, the Unobstructed Views demo, like, it's very obvious that, like, this got built on, in the final version. There's no very long intro on this
Basically
on this
just a
demo, which
piano version of the song, right?
basically, yeah. There's some strings, like, already in this demo, so, like, some of the direction is already a little bit plotted. But yeah, I don't know. It's a fine demo. I think I like the final version of that song a little more because I do like kind of the fun build that they do at the beginning.
Yeah. And then was it later in 2011 or was it 2012? They released the Keys and Codes, which is a remix EP. And I don't know if it was that they made this record digitally or just, EDM was having such a hot moment at this time that that they work with a bunch of EDM artists, some of whom, like, they kind of got early in their careers, I think, and some of them were, mainstays of the remix or EDM culture by this point. But they had a handful of the songs, like over half the record, actually remixed. And what do you think of this remix record?
I think a lot of it is kind of neat.
I kind of do too.
Yeah. The notable one that really doesn't work for me is the Underneath the Sycamore Dylan Francis remix.
Yes,
I
same.
forgot how much dubstep was around in 2011. And when I say dubstep, I mean, like, I guess what people call bro step now. Dubstep is a very specific thing that happened in, like, Britain a while ago.
Yeah, Lollapalooza Perry stage core.
Yeah, not the Skrillex thing, but that song, like, that remix, like, also makes such minimal use of the original version of the song that I'm like, why did you even do this? It's whatever. I do really like, I kind of like the Some Boys remix. I feel like the repetition of the, like, song as written is kind of bolstered by all the energy that the remix brings to it.
Yeah, that's my favorite on this EP.
Yeah, I really like the cut copy remix of Doors Unlocked and Open, and it took me a while to figure out why, because I was like, man, like, the instrumental here is so much more intense than the vocals, and I'm like, why is this working for me? And it's literally just because it sounds like One Life Stand era Hot Chip, which is a band and period of that band that I love.
Okay.
So if anybody's into that, go listen to One Life Stand or the album that came after that I can't remember the name of, that came out in, like, 2012. But Hot Chip, good. Highly recommend. The Unobstructed Views remix is, like, very 90s. I don't know how to describe it beyond that.
Was not enthused with that one. Did not like it at all.
That's fair.
I have a question about the You're a Tourist remix.
Sure.
Are the vocals on that track re-recorded by whoever did the remix? Is it even Ben singing it, or is it just what that vocal sounds like with no effects on it or something? I could not figure out what was going on in that made it sound very different.
I have a bullet point underneath this remix that says what is going on with the vocals. I think it is one of the harmony lines.
Interesting. Okay, that would make sense if it's a Chris part or a Nick part or something.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I also put that this is the most remix ass remix of all of these songs.
Yeah. I like the pipe organ that they added.
That is very cool. I do like that a lot. I also like that there's a bunch of cowbell on this version.
Yeah.
But it's really catchy, but I don't vibe with it very much at all. And I think I mentioned this before, but I really love that the Yesayer remix of Codes and Keys, like, focuses it on the strings so much.
Yeah.
Because that's the best part of that song.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, not a ton of supplemental material. Oh, there is a live album that they did with the Magic Orchestra. I think I mentioned that before.
Yes.
It's not on streaming, but find it on YouTube. Very worthwhile to seek out. It's a pretty amazing sounding live show.
Yeah, like, the songs that aren't on this album that are on that live album are very much enhanced by the presence of a bunch of strings. I kind of love it.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of it for Codes and Keys. Do you have a random recommendation for this week?
I do. I am going to I'm going to be back on my bullshit real quick here, and I'm going to recommend, because it just turned 25 yesterday. I'm going to recommend the Hayao Miyazaki film Spirited Away. This is one of my favorite movies. I don't know. It's a masterpiece. There's nothing quite like it. I don't really know what to say about it that hasn't already been said, but like if you haven't watched that movie in a while, I watch it yearly and it is great every single time. It is truly an animated masterpiece. And I would say that about every Miyazaki film, but like Spirited Away is probably the best one, like if I may say so myself.
I was thinking about this movie quite recently because the Odyssey has a very gnarly people getting turned into pigs scene, which is, I mean, that's what the I'm sure that is what Spirited Away is referencing. But it just was like, oh, the people turning into pigs thing has been in my mind.
Yeah, valid. And that is not a spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen it. It happens like 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, or a spoiler for a 2,000-year-old poem.
A spoiler for The Odyssey.
Yeah. But no, great movie.
Yep.
Second that recommendation.
Definitely. What you got?
I am going to recommend the Fake Problems album Real Ghost Caught on Tape from 2010.
Yes.
This record just fucking rules. There's one song on it that I don't particularly like, but that's okay. I can forget about that one.
Is it 5, 6, 7, 8?
Yeah, I don't like that song like hardly at all, but the rest of the record is like note perfect. This record came out at the time when I was going through a really tough breakup, and was just like a real like piece of solace to me, and I would just listen to it basically every day for months. And I just like Fake Problems as a band I really like never were better than this. I don't think any Chris Farren solo record has come anywhere close to like the magic of Real Ghosts. Just the guitar tones, the songwriting, everything about this album is, like I said, with one song exception, pretty much like a masterpiece to me. And I threw it on a drive the other day for the first time in many, many years. I don't know why I like hadn't listened to it in a while, but it still just is an all-time favorite.
Yeah, man. I also have not listened to this in a long time, and I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for it, and I didn't realize Mae Whitman did guest vocals on this.
It's
album.
Mae Whitman and Alia Shawkat, isn't it? Is it like it's both? Yeah, both from Arrested Development.
Yep, I should have looked one person down. But yeah, no, I also co-signed this recommendation as well. This was a huge favorite of mine when it came out, and it still is. I just haven't listened to it in a while. But man, Ghost to Coast, what a closer! What a way to end a career. Yeah.
Well, they had songs after
album.
this. They had a 7-inch that came out after this.
Right, the Viking Wizard Eyes, Wizard Full of Lies 7-inch.
There's another one too. No, that's an old Fake Problems. There's another one. Florida Doesn't Suck, I think is what it's called.
Oh, that's right.
And there's maybe a split too. I don't know. Yeah, like it's always bummed me out that they kind of fizzled after this. And like I said, the Chris Farren solo stuff just never worked for me. I like Antarctica to Vespucci. That's kind of the closest I've ever heard to this album. But even that doesn't quite measure up. So yeah, I don't know. Just check this record out. If you've never heard it, it's a classic.
100% agree. Yeah.
All right, we will be back next week talking about Kintsugi. In the meantime, you can find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com, send us email at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com, and follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.